worked in ministry for 7 years. He is a California hurdle state champ. He has his own multimedia company. He is a graduate of Cal State, San Diego State University. Sorry about that. Graduate of San Diego State University. He's worked in the Department of Juvenile Justice. And currently, man, he's doing a lot of big things in the North County and ultimately I'll say a lot of big things all throughout the county of San Diego, because what it is that he makes available to entrepreneurs in the black economy brings all entrepreneurs that are in the black economy from San Diego County all to one particular location every now and then. You know what I'm saying? He holds events that brings individuals into the same space to network and make it count. And so without further ado, I'll be introducing to the first time to some of y'all, but ultimately reintroducing him to those who know him, Mr. Brandon Bourne. Or am I saying that right?
Brandon Bourne.
Brandon Bourne.
Yeah, that's fine, man. I appreciate you inviting me out to be here today.
I appreciate you coming through, man. How you transitioning into the new year?
I mean, a lot of people make New Year's goals, New Year's resolutions. When January 1st came around, yeah, I'm just trying to be my best self every day.
There you go.
So I stopped making New Year's resolutions and just daily, like, let me just do my best today, get what I got to get done today, and make sure I set myself up for the future.
When did you stop making New Year's resolutions, if you can remember, like going back to when you ultimately was like, you know what, I'm pretty much just about to do my day to day. You know what I'm saying? Like, it don't make sense for whatever it didn't make sense to you to continue to do this.
Well, I don't know when, but I know it's some point where I'm like, it's about building habits. It's about building what I want to do over a long period of time to build the habit up. And I was stressed out when I set a goal, because I'm like, I would set a goal for myself and psych myself out. And so I'm like, let me just work on the day to day and just try to, if I want to do something, let me just try to do it today. And if I do a good job today, let me try to do it tomorrow. And let me just try to, build those habits of things in my mindset or my actions of things I want to do. And I gave myself a lot more grace to just, I'm human. And even though I have goals, I have dreams, I have things I want to do, just life is life.
Right.
And, I'm going to go sleep at night and tomorrow's a new day.
Right.
So.
Yep. Amen to that. If you don't mind, I usually, man, I like to give our community some context. And so I'm going to ask, if you don't mind, to just step into like your origin, share with us, where you were born, where you were raised, if you don't even mind going in deep as much as letting us know like where your maternal and paternal, bloodlines come from, but just kind of give us a little bit more insight into, who you are.
Well, a little bit about myself. Like I said, I don't know if I said it, I was born and raised here in Vista, California. My mom's side is from Michigan, Detroit area, and my dad's side is from Florida, by way of Panama.
Okay.
And so I have Panamanian roots. But my parents met in the military, ended up out here in Vista. And
they were both in the military?
They both were in the military.
Oh, wow.
A Marine Corps.
Oh, Marine Corps, wow.
So they both were in the Marine Corps. I think they're at Camp Pendleton. And then after they got out, they stayed here. And so I have an older sister, 2 younger brothers. We grew up here. Dad was in and out of jail. My mom worked really hard and tried to keep us in church around like a Christian community. And so I had a lot of positive influences in the circles that I was in the midst of my dad always not being around. And so I think that helped me out a lot, just having those positive influences.
Were a lot of those positive influences other men, or just, majority women, or churches, like church brothers and sisters, or?
Yeah, well, I could say where it started, where my mom, I went to this group called Awanas. It's like a Christian Boy Scouts kind of thing.
Yeah. And
they memorize Bible verses, and then they do it for prizes. You get a reward when you memorize Bible verses, you play some games. So they made it really fun. So my church experience was a lot of fun and games and having rewards for memorizing Bible scriptures. And I remember, like, just growing up, the good parts, like, going camping, or like some of the fathers or men in the church group were Marines, and they're like, let's go camping, let's go hiking. So they take all the kids go hiking. So I had a lot of like outdoor experiences that were fun, just from the positive church community that that my mom had put me in. And so I was really blessed for that, to just have that positive experience. But at the same time, I guess one thing I could say about myself, I was someone who always was competitive. Mm-hmm. Like I always was trying to win, or trying to prove someone wrong, or trying to, like when I was younger, really trying to seek approval. Mm-hmm. Because of the absence of having that approval in the household. Right. 100%. And so I think just that drive was what made me competitive in sports. That drive is what made me like a sharp thinker, and always trying to find solutions, and not just sitting there. And I know, like when I was young, even how I got into sports. So like when I was younger, I think I wanted to play football, and so somebody took me to Vista Pop Warner to try out, and when I got there, they were full. There was like no more room, and I was like, man, I really want to play. And I think my dad was like, well, you can play in San Marcos, but we can't take you. So I'm like, all right. I remember going home from school. I got on the team in San Marcos. Had to go from school, change out my clothes, walk to the bus, get on the bus, take the bus from Vista to San Marcos, get off the bus, full pads on, and go to practice. Like that's my first year playing football. Right. Like having to do a trek just to practice. Just to get there. Just to get there, because I either that or sitting at home and doing nothing. Like so. But and then just that started a whole pattern of like, if I want to do something, I can't wait. I can't wait for my parents to take me, because they might be working or might not be available. I can't wait for people to get things done. So I think that started in me like a go-getter. Like, no, I'm not gonna sit here and wait for you to get it. So it happens. It almost happens in every aspect of my life. Like, I think a lot of us are wait for things to get done, wait for people, and then we wonder why they'll never get done. Right. So
we're all the more capable of just taking the initiative.
Yeah, just taking the first step. Mm-hmm. So that drive in me started young. I think that's something that helped me in all aspects of my life. Something that was a deficit turned into like a blessing, just working through it.
What was like one of the main set of like morals and values you carried from, what was being demonstrated, to you, from your mother or the elders in your life into your own adulthood, and that you practice today in your own life currently?
Like a principle?
Principles, morals, values that you stand on, that you were able to look back and identify this stuff was being this demonstrated in front of me when I was younger.
Well, I know, so something that I think I picked up from my father that was good in a way is like not being afraid to address issues. You might be a little extra. Right. But I think I picked up, like, I can confront issues head on, and I'm not afraid to talk about them. I'm not afraid to like just get to the issue. And when I was younger, that was like, it was kind of rough, like figuring out like people don't always like to be confronted right to the face. Mm-hmm. And I had to learn how to be diplomatic. I had to learn when to say things, how to say things the right way, to be able to get to the result that I'm looking for. And so I think it's on one side, it's a blessing to be able to like just be real, address things head on. But at the same time, I'll say that's a principle that I've learned to sharpen that skill, because I can't sit and just like watch something and not say something. Like if I see something, I almost feel like
you're obligated, or like your purpose.
Oh yeah, I can't go to sleep. Yeah, I can't. My wife's like, stop talking about it. And I'm like, no, it's not. I need to figure this out. I need to find a solution. I need to make a way, because I'm not. That's just how kind of my background and what I feel like needs to be done. Mm-hmm. So I would say that's a principle I live by. So if you're around me, it's hard to be around me and you know that I'm going to say something.
Right. Especially if someone has already come in contact with that confrontation before, you know they're gonna be held accountable.
Yeah, and it's not always like it's not like in a disrespectful way, but sometimes just confronting issues feels disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying something feels like too much. So I've learned that too. Like, it's not always in the tone of voice. It's not always. Sometimes, like, you literally just said something that was so impactful that it makes someone feel disrespected.
Right.
Even if you said it in the most
coolest way.
So I had to learn that. I had to learn that there's power in words, but there's also like you can't get things done unless you're able to confront like that tension in relationships, in business, and life. Like you can't go deep unless you go through that tension.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I've experienced a lot of us live on the surface in a way because we're afraid of what might happen if we confront the issue.
Mm-hmm.
That's at hand, the elephant in the room. But I'm like, I don't want to live that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to live on the surface not confronting the life issues. So I know my wife probably stressed out a little bit because I'm like, we ain't going to bed until we talk about this. We ain't going to bed till we at least get it out there and find out what's the path forward, or just get it out there, because I think it's just better to learn how to talk through and work through stuff than be quiet.
Right, and to let that build. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it's going to build within you, because it could be bitterness, it could be resentment, it can be regret, and none of that stuff is healthy. You know what I'm saying?
So I think that's a benefit that I learned, even though it wasn't direct. It was like, oh, Brandon's going to talk about this. He ain't gonna let, and that's created a type of peace that's within me because I'm comfortable with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even like, okay, I'm gonna have integrity for myself. Like, I want to be at peace with myself, and so that I have peace with myself, even though sometimes my surroundings aren't as peaceful. So I'm like, at least I was honest with myself. Mm-hmm. At least I was authentic, and so that helps me out a lot. I don't know if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's necessarily a good navigator to get through things that a lot of us just find ourselves stuck in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, because I think a lot of times we can put a lot of effort into staying quiet to make other people feel comfortable.
Right.
But that means I ain't at peace.
Nah,
you know, like,
you're on the inside.
Miserable. But like, and that's I refuse to live that way. Like, why? I think for me to be my best self for other people, I have to feel good about myself. Mm-hmm. For me to give off positive energy, to have an overflow, I have to feel energized. I have to like the environment I'm in. I have to be able to receive as much as I get from my environment. There has to be some like healthy exchange of energy. Mm-hmm. And so I can't get that. I can't find that balance if I keep my mouth shut.
Right.
I can't be my best self. Mm-hmm. I can't continue to pour out positive energy and positive vibes
with that stuff inside of you.
That stuff inside of me, it's going to come out. That tension, like when stuff hits the fan, like we can all be cool and calm when things are going well. You know, we can all be chill. Right. But when stuff hits the fan, all that stuff's going to come out if we don't have peace within ourselves. So,
what are some of the hopes and dreams that you brought along with you from your youth to your adulthood? And were you the kind of hoper and dreamer that would see like a Denzel or a Martin Luther King and pretty much be like, man, I hope to be like, or I have a dream, you know what I'm saying? Like, that wants to line up with, or were you the kind of, hoper and dreamer that kind of like discovered along your own path that you wanted to tread your own path and be your own man?
Well, I think motivations when I was younger, there's two. They're not always motivations that get you places aren't always necessarily positive motivations.
Mm-hmm.
So like one was I was in the house where I was very observant, and my father wasn't always doing the things he's supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I ain't doing that. So a lot of things I was doing, I was like, I ain't doing that. It was more like I'm not trying to exhibit that behavior that my father did that got him in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of it was like, if he did A, I'm gonna do B.
Mm-hmm.
And then
And that's interesting too, because it's like, at what age was that?
it was
Young?
I was young.
So it's like already, man. It's like
Yeah.
you're confronting yourself to help yourself understand, like, that ain't the route we want to take at a young age. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but it was more like now I look back on it like saying it logically, but back then it was like, oh man, that brother's tripping. Like I don't even want to be like him. Like I don't want to be like that. But now it's like I don't want to be like that behavior that ended up a negative consequence.
Right.
Like, and seeing like my father go to jail, seeing behaviors that led there, it was like that's just what my mindset was. Like I'm not gonna win if I do that. And I'm trying to survive. I'm trying to get to the next level, and so that's literally was part of my core motivation.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't nothing. Let me see this person over here. Let me see this person in the book. It was just like I got enough examples in my own house of what to do and what not to do.
Right.
I don't got to look farther than that.
Right.
And so, like respectfully, but it's just that determined a lot of my decisions as a kid, but also at the same time, I wanted as a young boy, I also want to seek my father's approval.
Mm.
So it's just like that whole dynamic of not wanting to be the negative side, but also wanting to seek his approval by excelling at things. So yeah, there's that dynamic going on in my house.
What was your biggest ambition as a young adult?
As a young adult,
And we'll say that from 18 to 25, what was you could look back, like, what was the biggest ambition within you to be, like, pushing you to be?
so I didn't have. So I was working in that closed mindset of like just this, don't do this, do this. But I didn't have the big picture. Like when I was a California state champion in hurdles. I had a full ride scholarship to play football. I didn't think I was going to college. I didn't do no work to get a scholarship. I had men in my life who were on the coaches who were like, this brother can go somewhere, and you need to talk to this brother. And so it was more like I didn't have the awareness to even think. What was possible? It was possible, but there was men in my life who kind of set me up. So when I got to college campus, I didn't know what was going on. I was clueless. I barely know how to read a map the right direction. It was just like my awareness about like what I want in this season of my life wasn't there. I just knew this works, this doesn't. So it's like I was always operating in like this what's working now and what leads me in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And that was like literally my mindset. And people were like, "Huh?" And it was, and I feel like people want to ask like, what was the bigger picture? And that wasn't my mindset. But it was leading. But what I was doing was helping me be succeeding in that stage of life when it comes to like growing in my awareness and integrity, growing it as like my resilience of like overcoming things, like not getting overwhelmed, but just sticking to do this, don't do this, And it was like a survival thing, but that was like I was saying,
like your mindset, pretty much.
My mindset, even when I was, I started every game when I played football in college at a position or another. And, I would go into the game. I wouldn't be like, I'm going to score 5 times, I'm going to score 10. I would be like, I'm just going to work hard and make sure I do things the right way so I don't get hurt. Right? So like at the end of the game, no matter if I won or lost, I was like, my question I would ask myself, for peace, did I do my best? And you know, did I do things in a way that prevented injury? So like I didn't care if we won. I didn't necessarily care if we won or lost. I just want to know, did I put my best effort in?
Right.
And then I go
and
sleep
protect
at night.
yourself
And protect myself. You know, and I can go sleep at night. So my whole mindset, people are like, you dream about going to NFL? No, I was highly competitive. You know, I was scouted, but like that was never how I operated. It's always like that.
And that wasn't like the primary like goal on the forefront of your mind. You
Never.
know, you just wanted to ultimately successfully navigate this season of your life.
Yeah.
Without injury and doing the best you could.
Yeah, just do what works. And you know, so like when I would practice, I would practice hard. I would make sure I did things the right way, like pick up my knees when I run, so when I'm on the field and I cut, I don't make a wrong step. So I would do things. I always practice it so when I play the game, and so the small things. So people are always surprised, like, you didn't watch sports? Like, you didn't watch football? No, man, I didn't watch football. How are you so good? You didn't watch all these great
Walter Payton's.
I ain't watched all these great hurdles.
What was your position in football that you played?
So at San Diego State, I got a full-ride scholarship to play linebacker, and I never touched the defensive side of the ball.
Wow.
I played a running back, fullback and tailback and split back. Like
what was your 40 time?
4.44.
That's crazy.
That was like 230. Right? So that's the laser time.
It was like jackpot. Let's get this, bro. You're not going over to no defense.
They were deep. They were deep.
On defense?
They were deep.
Okay.
And so like, you ain't gonna get to play about like till a year or two, because I was super competitive. So they just like, we need to get this brother. We seen this brother on film, and he's tearing up the practice team. You know, like, we need to get this brother out there. So,
that's good, man.
So yeah, that was just. So I think people are always surprised when they ask me questions like that. You don't.
But it's interesting, man, because it's like you don't typically get that. When an ambition type of question like that is asked, like you might, it's crazy because I can hear like people don't line up ambition in that context as it being the momentum behind just being integral, being safe, and being like in right standing and like doing what you're supposed to do. People always equate and put ambition in the back of being an artist or being a football player. Like, I was ambitious to be an athlete, but it's like, nah, I was ambitious to actually have the great, like the as the athlete having great character. You know what I'm saying? Or being, you know, it's just interesting. That's what I'm drawing out of what you're saying. Like, you know,
focus on the habits. I mean, even if you go back to like high school, I have a record at RBU that will probably never be broken. I almost had a perfect season in track, which meaning I won first place in 4 events for the whole season, except like two events I got like second place. So that's like almost a perfect score for an athlete, like 4 different events. So that like never happens because you break down, you know, like you're not consistent.
Yeah, he was just durable.
So I was just like, I was always focused just at this and this, and it just worked. And so that's I feel like that it worked when I was a kid, it worked when I was younger, and I feel like it works now for when it comes to providing me inner peace and making sure like people might look at me like, dude, you're almost 40. You ain't a millionaire? No, I ain't no millionaire. Right. My wife's cool. My kids are cool. You know, like,
hey, listen though, this is the and this is the culture today. Everything you're saying, man, this is a gem that I think that just manifested out of what you said is like, but you are. So it's like when people are drawn, it's like, you're not a millionaire, but it's just like on the inside, and the reality of what you have that you can actually impart into your boys and your wife, and your legacy is that of like the millionaire habits. You know, like they say, like people always focus on like the external realities of what you can do with the millions, but the millionaires always talk about the actual habits and, you know, the things that they do to get to the point of being identified as a millionaire. But they're never like the real true like character driven millionaires. They not flash. They're not super flashy. I mean, I'm not gonna speak for all of them. I'm not a millionaire, so I'm not. But I'm saying like the qualities that you talk about, you possessed and consistently like exercised your character, your integrity, your drive, like allowing your ambition to fall in line with like not being misled by like a misconception of what you should be focused on as an athlete. Bro, those are like, that is like wealth. That is wealth. You know what I'm saying? And it actually, I believe, and especially with how I'm trying to wire my mind now that I have a family and I'm raising a family. My son's always talking about he want to start a YouTube page so he could be rich. And I'm just like, the YouTube page ain't gonna make you rich. It's your experiences and your interactions or lack thereof, you know what I'm saying, with the wrong people, or your interactions with the right people, and that which you can hold on to, that you're going to realize one day was the real wealth, you know. But if you're talking monetary, I understand, but what you going to do with it? But trying to get them to focus on his character, integrity, while trying to hold my own, you know what I'm saying, character and integrity, you know, in line. Is the real wealth, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
well, I think we do misunderstand what wealth is a lot, and I mean, I'm talking about kids, like look around the world. Some people are super happy, don't got that much. Mm-mm. It's not. So like we got a overwhelming amount of stuff here in America, and you got depression all over the place. You got people living on dirt mats on the floor, having fun playing outside during the day, and then finding enough food to survive and good for the next day. Like, I feel like this whole we are as people, this key word over here, resilient. Mm-hmm. Like we're built resilient, and what I mean by that, like if you work out really hard, you sweat. Why do you sweat? Because your body's trying to regulate itself because it's resilient. Like when you get scared, you get a boost of adrenaline in your body because your body's resilient. It's preparing itself for the situations. So like from the time we're born until the time we die, like we're literally wired to be resilient. It's not even a mindset. Like our bodies are resilient. Mm-hmm. Like you cut, what happens when you get cut? It scabs up because your body's literally building a layer to protect your body after you get cut. Like your body is made resilient. So I feel like we forget that. Like we can be resilient in a lot of situations all around the world. Like that's how we're made. But I feel like we don't tap into that. We forget just how God created us. Like, you know, He created us to thrive. He created us to survive. Mm-hmm. Like when a baby's born, they cry because they know like I need something right now. Like I am something.
Uncomfortable.
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
So I just I think that when it comes to like, I think we have a lot of people seeking like wealth in the sense of like, if I get enough money, it's gonna give me a certain amount of happiness, or it's gonna have other people respect me in a way that's gonna make me happy. Well, like, what if you're just at peace with yourself and you still work hard, you make decisions that are best for your family with what you have, like, and you go to sleep at night, do you still need $1 million? Mm. Your family's resilient. Your kids are resilient. Like I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna do my best within what I feel is like it having integrity in what God has given me, and doing my best. But I'm not gonna compromise. I know my family's resilient. You know.
Right.
So I just feel like I don't know if that's too deep.
No.
But I just feel like we're chasing a lot of things that don't necessarily. It's not going to give you peace.
Right.
And yeah, man, I want a whole bunch of money, but if I don't have peace, it's not worth it.
Right.
If I lose my family, it's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
If my kids hate me, it's not worth it. I've been in situations where I could have made more money. I'm like, I wouldn't have been at peace. It ain't worth it. So I'll take it. Shoot, I'll take the criticism. I'll take the judgment. Then I go sleep. I'll be asleep in peace in my home at night. You know, while you still
and waking up in peace.
Yeah. So that's a high value of mine, and I want to pass that on to my kids. That like, be who God created you to be, do what God created you to do, and what He wants you to have and be blessed with, that's what you're gonna have. And with the greatest blessing in that, you'll have peace with it. What God gives you when you walk with Him is what will also give you peace in that season.
So you graduated San Diego State University. What was your major? What did you major in?
I studied politics and religion, political science, and religious studies. Two things people love here to talk about: religion and
Politics.
Politics. That's what I studied.
What moved you in that direction?
Critical thinking. When I was in political science, I loved the fact that we got to write out our thoughts, understand how like social dynamics work, politics work, all of that. So I just love to learn about that, love to write, love to process. And same with religious studies. Religious studies at San Diego State University was like I considered myself like a strong Christian going into it, and so it was like, if I believe this, I should be able to wrestle with my faith in the midst of people all these questions. And so I think it made my faith stronger, being able to, my mindset is like, I'm gonna ask a question, and then I'm gonna sit here till either I come up like I'm at peace.
Mm-hmm.
So so religion, me being able to understand or study different faiths and the foundations of different religions like Islam or just Buddhism, and just knowing like the foundations of everything in Christianity, and being able to wrestle with it, like, okay, do I really believe Jesus is the only way? And then be like, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not in the absence of me not, and it's not in the absence of me not knowing. It's in me knowing and me wrestling with it and being like, shoot, Jesus is my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe His word. So I went through a lot of that season in college, even studying, coming from a faith background and having to wrestle constantly with questions. Why do you believe what you believe? Why do you think Jesus is the only way?
What was one of the most memorable obstacles you ran into concerning political science or religious studies that pushed you around a lot in your mindset?
I think growing, being involved with church, people a lot of times are afraid to ask the hard questions and they avoid them. But the problem is if you're a young believer, someone's gonna ask you those questions anyway. Mm-hmm. So you better be able to wrestle with your faith when you're around your people who can help you like wrestle with the faith.
Because that's what's going to happen, right? Either like if you don't like, you might as well ask the hard questions because somebody's going to ask you some hard questions.
Yeah.
One way or another, whether it's an unbeliever or another young believer.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have the opportunity to ask some hard questions, and wrestle and grapple through the answers, even though they may not be answers you want to hear, it puts you more in a position to kind of like wrestle through and kind of figure out why that's the answer you're getting.
Yeah, you should be able to wrestle with your faith one approved workmen are not ashamed. That's one thing that I learned in Awanas when I was a kid, that if you study the word and you know what you believe and why you believe it, you don't have to be ashamed because of it. And so that's what that season in college was like. Hey man, I'm studying, and whatever I say at the end of the day, I'm gonna be at peace with it because I studied it. It's not the absence of not knowing. It's understanding what I stand on and why I stand on it. And so the one thing I think happens a lot is young people or in the church, youth, people in general, is that when you're going through that questioning phase, a lot of people separate themselves from the community.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's the biggest detriment. Like when you're questioning, you should be sharpened by your community, not separate yourself, because you don't have people to sharpen you, people to bounce ideas off of. You just got you in your mind.
And that's the
and the worst.
And them walls. You, your mind, them walls, your own words and thoughts are bouncing off of the walls in here until they come out, and then they bounce it off these walls, and then you start believing everything that you're saying. You know what I'm saying? Even though you don't really believe it. You're just like this. You're the only reasoning, that you're getting.
Yep.
Especially if you're not praying and seeking counsel from Him.
Yeah.
While alone.
And that's the main thing I also experienced when after I graduated college, I worked in full-time ministry for 7 years on a college campus with young men, and that's the biggest struggle I saw, is like they would be in community, and then when they would get these questions asked of them, they would want to wrestle with their faith outside of community. And I was like, oh shoot, he left community and he had these questions.
Did you ever ask any of them, like, what, were you ever able to kind of challenge and say, hey man, you should actually wrestle that out in community? And did you get any answers as to why they felt that was the best route?
Well, usually they didn't want to be around community, but you felt I would see them still on campus because I was always on campus. But what I would experience is like almost like some shame, like they were told something they never even processed, or they never even had a chance to wrestle with. It's like new information, and it's like okay. So it was like this. Wait, no one ever told me this before. It was more of that, like just. They might have been young in the faith, and they were asked, and they thought they were Christians for a long time, and then they were asked some hard questions, and they realized they didn't even know what's going on. They didn't even know what's going on, and now they feel ashamed because someone else is like, I got this secret knowledge, and you don't even know about it, brother.
Wow, I got you.
Yeah. Let me come over here. Let me tell you what they ain't telling you in the Bible. It's like, no, man. So I was in the middle of all that. I was on the campus with some different people show up on campus to speak. I'm not gonna mention no names, but they had theirs, and I'm not mentioning no names, but non-Christian believers, but very smooth talkers, and would flip young men who's Christians, who said they're Christian but were just like culture Christians. They will flip them like that. Whoop, 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 whoop. And I would see it every year I was on that campus. Other brothers coming on campus to speak smooth, and he's gonna flip all these cultural Christians real quick because they don't know what's going on. So I would be on the campus just trying to like help people reflect on the word and reflect on their faith and know what they're rooted in.
Who introduced you to Jesus?
I was introduced to Jesus when I was in Awanas.
So what do you remember a specific?
I might have been like 4th grade when I started going to this fun Christian Wednesday program, and it was this missionary who was there that day, and he was just talking about Jesus and what Jesus died for our sins, and that he's forgiven us all the stuff that we've done. And he was like, does anyone want to have a relationship with Jesus? And I was like in the room home with little kids, and me, I was like, this works, this don't work. And I was like, hey man, I need Jesus. And he was like, okay. And he prayed. I feel like that's where my journey started, with me understanding the decision I made and the Holy Spirit in me. And so, yeah. So it was like, I was probably 4th grade.
Do you remember your first moment after that actual encounter? Do you remember your first moment after that initial acceptance? Your first like encounter, with Jesus?
I know for me, since I was more of like, this works, it doesn't work, I was always asking God, like, hey man, I'm doing this because it works, but I'm not feeling it. Like, so I'm like, help me have more of like a compassion. So that was like my prayer when I was younger. Like, God, give me some compassion, because I'm doing it and it's working, but I'm not feeling it. I'm not emotionally feeling it. I'm reading the word, I'm following His word, and what the word is telling me is working. I'm just not feeling like hugging people. Like, so it was like, I'm not feeling it. So that was like, but also was like, I had to understand like
Did you feel like you had compassion and empathy though, or did you were just like, you felt kind of like empty of that level of?
No, I had compassion and empathy. I just didn't like people in my space.
Got you.
So I think it's more like a personal preference. But I thought it was something wrong with me, and I was like, man, that's just I just don't like people all in my space.
When you were in college, did you find, yourself kind of like identifying like, I am in a position to disciple? This opportunity has kind of discipled me, or me grappling with the word and these concepts has discipled me, like,
Yeah, I think I was hungry to learn, and so I think I was an easy person for people to teach when it comes to like the word or things like that. So I would say before learning how to trying to disciple others, you have to be teachable, available, and intentional. So what someone that's easier to work with. Mm-hmm. I feel like from that side, I had a lot of mentors when it comes to Christian men who helped me in different seasons of my life and was available to ask questions and gave me opportunities to grow in my faith, whether it be challenge me with the word, give me opportunities to step up and show what I'm learning, or even just sharing the gospel. So when you talk about discipleship, it's hard to intentionally help develop or teach someone, disciple someone, if they're not faithful, intentional, teachable, humble, available. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what I learned. You have to be first faithful, available, and teachable. It's someone that I want to spend time with, to invest into. Faithful, available, intentional, teachable, humble is a long term. Mm-hmm. I learned that when I was in full-time ministry working for the Navigators, which is a discipleship focused organization. Men mentoring men, women mentoring women. And so that's literally what I was being trained to do for 7 years, and doing it with college students. Like, I'm investing my, outside of like my family, but when I was like single, I'm investing my time and resources into finding the right people to invest my time into. And then also, when I spend time with them, what do we do to help them be who God created them to be? So I think there's a lot of books, a lot of things that we can do. But I found out after discipling a lot of men that the best tool is just read the scripture and do reflection. That's what I found out works the best. Like, literally open up the Bible, maybe do some get some stuff out, read the word, and just reflect on it and say, what does God teach? What are you hearing from God right now? That has been the best tool that I ever did after 7 years. Because that tool is based on what that person's hearing from God, not what he's hearing from necessarily from you.
Yeah.
And it's less defensiveness when they hear it as from God, as internally. I feel like God's telling me to do this. Oh, really? What does that look like? You know, I feel like that was the best tool. So that's probably I've seen more personal growth and development at the pace of life with just doing that simple reflection than me trying to teach a whole book. But I think if you're a new believer, teaching like foundations of your faith, so people question your faith. No, I do believe in Jesus. I am saved. Like, there's some good foundational principles that are good to be taught. But outside that, to be sensitive to the Holy Spirit is just getting that person in front of the Word and letting them hear what God is here.
Right.
That's it. And that's what, I mean, me and my wife do like almost weekly Bible studies, and that's literally what we do. We just like open up the Bible, read the scripture, and be like, what'd you hear? What I hear?
That's beautiful.
You know, just keep it simple. When I did like Bible studies at the church, I remember this church I was going to, and when I was leading a youth group, and the first time we did a Bible study, like, I was like, okay, man, like, I didn't prepare for this. Right? And I said, all we're going to do is open up Proverbs, and we're going to read it, and each of y'all is going to go around and say what you what you got out of it. And they were super disrespectful the first, like, who are you? Like, they're like, I ain't about to teach y'all nothing, right? I ain't about to spend my time trying to. And the first week, the parents.
That's what you pretty much said to yourself, like.
I'm about to waste my time preparing for y'all.
Right.
Like,
y'all being disrespectful.
Y'all disrespectful. All we're going to do is open up Proverbs and read it. And so, like, the first week, they were super disrespectful. By the third week, they were loving it. They're like, this is what God showed me today. Wow. And I was like, I didn't teach all that.
Yeah.
We just literally opened up the Proverbs.
That is powerful, man. Like, that's like, I love, like, how that manifested out of that, bro. Like, that is like, and that's, like, he gets all the credit, all the glory, and they know it because, you know, and it's crazy, right? Like systems sometimes can have you rigid and push you into a position to where you just don't want to, like, against your greater judgment, you don't want to accept change or nothing that's coming your way. And you just like, but then your consistency in just being like, man, we just about to open up this word. I'm going to read something, and y'all going to tell me what you feel you're getting from it.
Like, what you hearing God tell you.
What you hearing God tell you. That's ultimately what they're looking for. They ain't looking for what you telling them. It's his word and what he's communicating to them through it. That's dope, man.
Yep. That was the best tool. If I had to give one piece of advice, all these just do that. Yeah. Do that. Start with that, end with that, and document it.
An example where you seen faith, love, mercy, grace, or hope, like, exercised, and it changed somebody or the atmosphere of an environment that you were in.
Okay. Well, this isn't like I'm gonna give you an example of something a pastor did that I never seen before or since, that I think changed people's mindsets in the room. It was he got up. This was like my favorite church when I was lived in Maryland. He one Sunday he taught a sermon. Right, it was a good sermon. The way he taught was like really simple. You know, he uses like 3 acronyms and makes everyone understand, like, teach on a super basic level. And then the next week he taught the same sermon, right? Oh. And then the next week he taught the same sermon. And then I was like, wait a minute, did this brother talk about this last week? And I was like, okay, well, I'm listening. So every week I got something different from it. And I was like, why did this brother teach the same sermon in like 4 weeks and just added like a little piece at the end? I was like, dang, we do try to. Why are we teaching 64 sermons a year? Like, right. If we just say the same message and then just let people soak it in, you know, you probably actually get something from it. Mm-hmm. So from that one thing he did, I was like, that's genius. I don't think any pastor would be bold enough to do that.
What was the message?
I can't remember.
Oh,
But I'm
okay.
saying, but the point was,
I get what you're saying, though.
The point
Yeah.
was, it was like I just remember like it just sunk in deeper every time, like, and so the simplicity of doing that and knowing like
It was more impactful.
and this brother was like he like was a college professor, like taught religious studies. He was a pastor. He had a few kids, and he was just like, I'm like, this brother knows something that we don't know.
Yeah.
And I just learned so much stuff from how he did things in that church, and I was just like, this brother's on something different. that you can't even.
When you think about it, it really is like, because for me, I hear that and I think about sports, or I think about a job, or I think about like in environments where you do things repetitively, or in a particular practice where you do things repetitively, it's preparing you for the test or the game or the exam or whatever. And it's just like, I think, church, or with all due respect to like, what we are in community of and what we are as the body of, like, we can expect to hear something different every year, you know what I'm saying? And it might not every week, and it might not necessarily work the necessary muscle that needs to be worked out, but it's like a certain coach that knows a certain something about your position is going to make sure that your calf muscles just worked, and you're not going to get off your calves until he knows they're developed in a way. Same thing with your thighs, same thing with your pecs, everything. Like, when it comes to a coach, knowing the position you play, and and when I heard you mention that about that pastor, that's what I thought about, like him just looking at the body and knowing that whatever the message, that's why I was asking what the message was, because whatever it was, he was ultimately, preparing the body for, something by just hitting on that same and training that same muscle, but just adding a different exercise to it a little bit.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. I was like, same point, 3 same points to this brother. Yeah, so that it just changed my, and it, like I said, I just like that worked. So I'm gonna keep it simple.
What are your thoughts about the church locally and globally?
I think there's a lot of good people trying to do good work in the church and to honor God, but I also think we need some more like critical thinkers in the church. Some more people who challenge, to ask questions, to be like, is this really the best way to do this? I feel like we are in a system of a way to do church that might not be as responsive to the community, and I think we're stuck. So I think that the church should preach about Jesus. I think the church should bless the community. The church should train up new believers and give seasoned believers opportunities to be a blessing. I feel like we just stuck. We're stuck in this habits. Like I said, I just look at what works and what doesn't work. Like, if it doesn't work, stop doing it. If it's working, keep on doing it. Now there's people in the church who are impact and engage a lot of people, but it don't necessarily fit. So they just get pushed out of the church. The same people who are blessing the church often get pushed out the church because they don't fit. So,
and when you say fit, meaning the system, like ultimately, like there's a system that's been developed that ultimately it filters out without even probably realizing it, or maybe there is a part of the system that does realize it. You know what I'm saying? In a way that is masked, and only if you have eyes to see and ears to hear will you identify that what you just expressed is that there are people who really, literally, their presence blesses the church, and because they don't fit or because
they don't fit the program.
they don't fit the program.
It's not they don't fit the word,
Right, or the body,
or the body.
It's
they don't fit
just
the
system
program.
and the program.
So
Yeah,
I
that's
think
deep.
that's what we need to figure out. But it's the same in business.
Mhm.
A lot of people who,
But then,
who could,
isn't that's like it kind of identifies just how much more the church has become a business than it has become a body. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, it just makes what you said make sense. You know
like
what
a
I'm saying?
talent drain. That's what I call it. In business, there's talent drains because people stuck in churches. I just experienced as a black man. I've interviewed a lot of people, and I've interviewed some like strong Christians who have a lot to give, but aren't able to express themselves in the church in a way to have them be a part of the congregation. They're just like, man, we about we about to meet in the park. We about to have Bible study in the park because this isn't working for us to be able to flourish.
Gotcha.
So that's it.
We'll transition, man, into the last portion of this opportunity, bro. I appreciate your time, though, and I appreciate your willingness to open up and just share with the community, you know, your life, your lived experience, and, you know, your experience with Jesus. And, you know, with that, I want to ask, you know, about your family. You know what I'm saying? Like, with all due respect to your family, as much as you want to share or as much as you don't want to share, I'm completely, I'm gonna be blessed by whatever you share. But as a husband to a wife with 4 children myself, I love talking to other husbands about their relationship with their wife and their relationship with their children. And so I wanted to ask you about your wife and husbandhood.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I know. I went into marriage thinking my mindset going into marriage was it don't matter who's wrong. At the end of the day, I gotta fix it. That was my mindset going in. Because even when I was courting, I was like, oh shoot, I dressed up. So I was like, but at the end of the day, I'm like, well, at the end of the day, the word says I'm the head, which means I'm responsible. No matter what happens, I need to fix it. So that was always an overriding. No matter what happens in my household, at the end of the day, I'm accountable.
mm-hmm.
So if I can't work it out with my wife, I still got to be responsible to do what I need to do. I think that has helped. I mean, I could say like it's your fault, but at the end of the day, I still got to take care of it.
It ain't gonna matter.
it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Right.
So just going in with that mindset, I think set me up for like to work things out. You know.
That's a strong. I'm telling you, man. Like I thought I was gonna be able to do well with that mindset, but marriage will teach you. You know what I'm saying? Like in ways that you can't anticipate how much you really don't know yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I'm learning and wanting to be more aligned with, you know, that mindset and that school of thought. I mean, I think I try to compensate for because I don't like confrontation. You know what I'm saying? I'm the complete opposite of you. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's something to where it seemed like the kids is disrespecting Keisha, or it's just like, this just has to be addressed. But, like, I could go to sleep, you know what I'm saying? Like, anticipating to probably handle this tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I know that sometimes what happens is I wake up and I go to work, and then the day happens, and then by the time we meet, it's as if like we done probably said something over the phone, like, hey, I love you, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't a big deal. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I apologize. But most of the time, you know, a lot of that was happening like to avoid a face-to-face family meeting type of sit down and let's hash this out. But the mindset of, I gotta fix this, if I'm being honest, it seems like it transitioned to me just wanting to work to provide for my family. You know what I'm saying? Instead of like executing like great communication skills in the moment. You know what I'm saying? But I still do assume the responsibility. I just try to avoid confrontation at all costs if I can. And if I can't, because Keisha, she's more along the lines of like, especially if it's something that is big, she's just like, nah, man, we gotta, I'll see you when you get home. And we gonna talk about it. And, you know, hopefully we'll get to the conclusion of it. But, no, but I think that'll save a family. You know what I'm saying? Having that mindset of like, I'm responsible for making sure that everything's all right.
Yeah.
Some people look at that as a burden. You know what I'm saying? But you could look at it as a burden.
Well,
but everything you're doing in life, then to, make provision for your family in the ways that God has blessed you with, you might as well count as a burden too then.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If being a great communicator within your family and exercising the realities of like how these things should be worked out, and then for it to be identified that between you and me, wife, we carry, what we can carry to make sure that everything is all right, with knowing that I'm gonna carry the heavier load.
Yeah.
Then that's a burden that's worth carrying.
Yeah. And yeah, I agree. And great communication is not like, doesn't happen. I feel like I've worked to like communicate better and better. Like, I'm not avoiding, but I mean, I'm gonna be the best at communicating, but we're gonna talk.
Right.
So like,
and what I mean in that is just like,
yeah.
I think I'm saying communicating is great.
Yeah.
I'm like a shut down kind of person.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I did a lot of time in prison, and in the beginning, I would just shut down because I'm like, this is what got me home from prison. It's just like stopping communication with people when I feel like I don't have nothing nice to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Keisha told me, she was just like, bro, you got a family now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't do well with that. Like, I need you to like, at least tell me, you know what I'm saying, that we're going to communicate about this later. But, just being transparent. But it's like, yeah, I'm just saying like communicating is great.
Yeah.
But the communication isn't always great.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like, yeah, I'm always getting better. I'm better at communication. Hopefully, I'm getting better and not worse at it.
Right.
But I feel like that was my mindset going in from, you said, as a husband, and then I don't view as like, even though I'm responsible at the end of the day, that just means if I don't prepare my wife, help support my wife to do what she felt like, what I felt like she's supposed to be doing, then I gotta do it.
Right.
So it's like, so it's like either I'm helping to help her equip,
right,
or I'm doing it,
right.
And then so like I see it as a system. Like this is that's how I think it should work, right? I feel like my wife, if the kids aren't, if she doesn't deal with the kids, it gets to me, then I gotta deal with it. That means I gotta do what the other kids gotta do. I gotta communicate with my wife, be like, this ain't working,
right.
And now it's to me.
Yeah.
now I gotta fix it, because that's the only thing I can do is fix it. So I'm like, I feel like this, what works over here is the more I try to empower my wife to have those skills, means the less I got to do it.
Right.
In the sense of like micromanage. the less I gotta micromanage. If the more I empower my kids to use what skills they have, the less I have to micromanage. So my whole strategy is like, I'm a see how much my kids can do, and let them struggle a little bit, and see if they can grow a little bit while struggling. And then, but I ain't gonna let them fail. But I'm gonna let them get to that edge to see if they fight back and kind of go to the next level. So I would say like I'm more of like a hands off in the sense of I want to see them struggle a little bit because that's the only way you can grow. But they're in a safety net.
Right.
They ain't really struggling. Right. they just think they're struggling because we got like I got their back. So, but I feel like that like resilience kicks in.
Right.
And I feel like that resilience.
That's all that kept popping in my mind the whole time you were saying that. Yeah.
Like you need that resilience to kick in. I'm like I don't know any other. That's how I feel like that's put me on. That triggered my resilience, and I'm like I want to give space for their natural resilience to trigger, and I can't do that if I'm just always telling them exactly what to do.
Right.
Give them guidelines, give them directions, give them encouragement, give them opportunities to succeed and fail, and sometimes act like I ain't there. Like I'm around the corner.
Right.
But let them cry a little bit. So that's kind of my parenting style, but it was sharpened a lot. When I worked in Colorado in the Department of Human Services, I think I sharpened a lot with my communication, active listening, and de-escalation. I was on the other side. You were in jail. I was like, I worked with kids. But that helped me in the home. I was like, okay, I got to learn how to communicate better. Because there's less. If I didn't communicate well at my work, there'll be a little.
It overflows.
It overflows. And so I'm like, I learned like, okay, communication matters a lot.
Yeah.
It matters a lot in my home too. So I learned a lot of home skills. Ironically, working in a jail, I learned a lot about the importance of communication and being respectful in how you communicate and and just communicating. That's what I learned.
Right.
Like that's it. I was like, I feel like that blessed me. My perception was, if you didn't grow up with someone disciplining you, you're just so much harder to work with. Because discipline is a loving thing, but you don't think it's loving.
You can identify it as that.
So I was like, so I see it as like me disciplining my kids and also showing that I love them. They know that discipline is a loving thing. Like I'm setting them up so when they're in different environments and they have someone giving them correction, they don't take it as negative. They take it as, oh, my dad used to correct me all the time. It made me better. So discipline, and that's what the Bible says, like a father disciplines those that he loves. So I feel like it's my duty to show you some loving discipline in the midst of affirmations, and also showing you what and like working through that.
Yeah. What about let's cap it off with friends or friendship and brotherhood.
Oh, I don't have that many friends. I have a lot of, so part of it is my personality type. Like I said, when I was a kid, I could play alone by myself. Part of it is the way my life functions. I have a lot of people I connect with, that I like network with, that I've interviewed probably like 400, 500, 600 people. Like I've heard a lot of stories and I've learned a lot from people, but my priority is like my faith, family, my kids, and if something aligns with that, if friendships or community aligns with that, then I will spend time connecting with those people. So, but it's not like really, I'm not gonna lie, it's not really a high priority for me.
Yeah.
But I think it's valuable to have a community. I feel like if you don't have a community or have a network or people that you can build with in any type of way, it's not good. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that makes sense.
Man, you just It makes perfect sense, man. I think the older I get and the more time I'm fighting to spend with my family, the more I realize even opportunities like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I know my wife bites her tongue. You know what I'm saying? You know, but she, you know, because she would rather me be home. And so would Ian, and so would Samira Zuri, and then my newborn, pretty much. And other than opportunities like this, it's like my like friendships or like going out to just do leisure things. It's like it's like few and far between. I might play a game of basketball or a few games of basketball or something on a day, but like prioritizing friendship, I'm trying to prioritize to find more time with my family right now. So I definitely understand. You know what I'm saying? My Black City. You know why? Why My Black City? And how did My Black City become what it has become?
Okay, so the motto of My Black City is pretty much to connect our communities together, to help inspire, motivate. We shine brighter together, not separate. I started My Black City to help because I was in Colorado and I was trying to get more connected to the local Black community, just to feel more a part of it. And I went to Black Chamber of Commerce, and I'm thinking y'all, this might be a good place to connect. Black Chamber of Commerce. And I was looking through their directory, and it was like, I didn't know, like I wasn't finding what I was looking for, and I was like, I don't know where to go in this community to connect with people that look like me. So I was just like, I'm gonna just start my own meeting, because it was just in the city. There's a lot of Black people there, but it was just like we were all disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
We're all doing different things. And I was like, I just want to know what's going on in the city, what's going on in the Black community. I want to know what businesses are out here. I want to know. And I just started connecting, calling up people, interviewing them. And then like a year later, like we had a publication. And I was really just trying to figure out what's going on. Mm-hmm. And then I found out that like celebrating the community, connecting people together helps me understand more what's going on. But then I started hearing stories about people who are inspired to do new things, connect with people, to launch their business. I started hearing all these stories. And so that's kind of how My Black City grew. It was more just like, I wanted to know what was happening in the Black community, in my city. But the only way I can find out is by celebrating and connecting people. Mm. Only way I can find out is by giving people a space and opportunity to connect. Because it was hard. And so that was kind of like my strategy. Mm. It wasn't necessarily like well thought out. It's just like I need to know what's going on in the city I'm in with people that look like me.
And so now, I mean, you've come out. You're back out here. You've been out here for some time now, yeah. And you've established that culture, and it's brought together consistently a significant amount of, you know, not only like Black talent, but just like Black curiosity. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like as to like what really is possible. You know what I'm saying? And who really is an entrepreneur of color. And if you don't mind, just explain a little bit about like what that experience has been like and what the goal is and your vision is.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I found out that what a lot of us really want is to be recognized and celebrated for the work that we do, because a lot of us put a lot of work in to provide, to invest in the community, and we just want to be recognized. I want to be recognized too. And so that's really like our last event was a Black Art Festival, and there's like a lot of amazing artists. I wanted to know what's happening in our community, in the art community. So I said, we're just going to highlight the Black community. The way to find the artists is to celebrate them. We had like 10 performing art acts. We had like 25 artists in the gallery. We had like 30 vendors. And I'm like, okay, now I know who's who. Mm-hmm. Like now I know where the talent, because I created a space for them to shine.
Yeah.
And so but besides that, I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't be able to know 80-90% of the people in the room, and they got to meet each other. They got to connect. They got inspired. It just creates this positive energy. So that's something that I think will ultimately benefit. The way it's benefited me is over the years, it's gave me some good job, some side income. You know, like people might want a project or something, or if job transition, I got a whole bunch of new connects. So like you never know.
Yeah.
And so it's just a good thing to bring the community together for my good and for the community's good. And so we just try to keep it positive, try to keep it friendly. I'm not anti anybody. I'm just celebrating the community to help me know who's in the community. That's it.
That's awesome, man. No, that's a great way, I think to just grow, is to be in a space where people are hungry for affirmation. They're hungry for wanting to be expressive of what it is that they actually have to offer in what they're producing, and just being in a space of just curiosity and like empowerment is all like a recipe for growth. Belief in good. How is that impacting communities, and what is your what's your perspective of how and why that's necessary?
Well, belief in good was built around Glenn Henry, belief in fatherhood, Yvette Henry. They impact a lot of people's lives through their storytelling, and a lot of those people are doing good work in their local communities. And so we were just trying to find a way to connect with those people and help empower them in their own communities to do good work, whether here locally or around the country. So that's what we initially started and launched. And like after the first year, we had like 100 different people who said they want to do local work in the communities because they're inspired in their communities that are inspired by just like belief or the storytelling. And so we're just trying to help empower and encourage and equip those people who are inspired through a nonprofit, and also just giving people opportunities. Like I helped a good amount of people put their stories together. Like they're already doing good work in the communities, but they're trying to figure out how to tell their story.
Yeah.
Just like, all right, well, let's hear your story. Let's do a quick game plan. Just starting them on that journey. Right. And so we are still in the beginning stages, but there's a lot of good work happening with belief in good people doing good work.
How do people get involved or contact whoever is necessary to contact, to be able to pull up or, be involved in the next My Black City opportunity, or even to be able to, get whatever support is available for wanting to do good in their individual or particular communities?
Well, we're building. So right now we're in 2024. I know you put this timestamp stuff, but the goal is to do monthly community meetings, so we can connect with the people around the country who want to continue to do the good work and provide like resources, provide motivation. Just let them see each other, provide the energy like a community, like an online community. Like these are people around the country who are doing good work just like you, to help inspire people right where they're at, to share stories, to provide like fundraising opportunities. Like we have a refresh campaign, like a lady in San Diego who chose a family to remodel their house, like the inside, like cleaning the house. And so they're doing like a refresh campaign, refreshing them. So they've raised like $3,000 to help pay for like new
what's necessary
to do it. So stuff like that, like helping move things forward. If the people get involved, you can go to beliefingood.org or just sign up, and you'll get the emails, you get the text. They'll get information about what we're doing and coming up this year.
Gotcha.
That's it.
Man, well, this has probably been a longer interview than you anticipated to sit down with me for. I appreciate you holding it down with me. You're a remarkable dude, man. I met you a while ago, and you didn't even really know me that well, and you just offered to just support me, you know what I'm saying, in ways when it came to like technologically helping me out with videos or just helping me to gain knowledge and pretty much what I'm doing right now. Being able to set up cameras, set up lighting. I've watched you do it a few times, and I just want to thank you, you know what I'm saying, for your efforts to make sure that individuals such as myself, are affirmed or do believe that, we can make an impact. You know what I'm saying? Man, people, and I guess rightfully so for whoever you might be, that you feel like it's necessary to be that way. But some people are just greedy with what they got. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't necessarily feel it necessary to just give. They feel like, man, I got it the hard way. You go get it the hard way. You know what I'm saying? But I appreciate you having a heart that's freely willing to give. And yeah, man, it's been that way from the get-go. So any last words you want to, kind of part ways with the community, the point of view community and every other community that might be attached to this as a result of sharing this on bigger platform?
I think just what you said at the end about just not being afraid to give. Like I don't think we should hold on to blessings. I think we should give them. If we have capacity to give to bless others, I think we should. And that's I focus on that. Like this is not about me. It's about the community. If it's not taken away from my own energy, but I can still give it because it's like God has given me stuff to give. To share some information is free. Like I don't gotta charge you for that.
Right.
So I think we need to just do more of that to be able to help build each other up. We got a lot of amazing resources in this community. Mm-hmm. We just need to be able to share so we can shine.